All right. So, having said that, we're going to start this morning with a little show and tell, question and answer. And if you have any questions about anything I'm showing, just put it up in the chat. Okay. So today is all about kind of folding knives, and I have a rather large selection, and we're just going to go through pros and cons to a lot of different types. Okay, so the typical, you start with a typical pocket knife, and it's kind of one of those things. Grandfathers and fathers for years have always carried a little kind of pocket knife. This one was from my grandfather, and what is often prevalent in so many of these knives is the biggest thing in any knife is the quality of the steel. Quality of the steel and sharpness. Those are the two. After after that, everything else is just a bonus. Okay. Some are designed not only to go in the pocket, but they might have a little clip, and that kind of goes down on the side of your belt, or quite often on the inside of your pants pocket, and it just kind of attaches there. Okay. Many of the knives are either just a folding knife where there's no retention, but many of them have what's called a liner lock. And what happens is this bar kind of moves over under the blade and locks it up. So it's kind of locking, and it won't close until you push that little tab right there crossways, and that releases the blade down, and it creates it to be unlocked. Okay, this is called what's called a thumb stud, and the idea is that you are able to hold it with your thumb, and it provides that single-handed opening just by rolling your thumb like that. Lots of different ones are very similar, and many of them have either a torsion tension bar or a spring inside, which allow them to be kind of spring assisted. Okay, that's not what's called a switchblade. It's just kind of spring and gravity assisted, and it can be opened with one hand. It's not illegal. Okay, it's just the assisted. The common movie Switchblade, where it's a push button open close, that is illegal. Okay, and obviously there's some different rules in the states as well. Sometimes you'll see these are called serrations. They're like a little saw edge. It's not necessarily for sawing, but it's really good for cutting through some kind of really coarse material, sometimes rope, and then all of a sudden you're kind of regular edge. But at the end of the day, every knife is only as good and safe as its user's awareness. Okay. Here's another kind of version where you have some partial serrations, and early on I lasered on my name on the blade just to try my hand at lasering, and since then I've actually been approached by the Ministry of Natural Resources, and they give these knives out to the law enforcement officers, the conservation officers, as a retirement gift. And it has a little, can't get it out. It has a little mini flashlight that pops out of there, which is kind of unique. It also has a little thumb stud that can roll the blade open. Now, despite being a really cool, and there's millions of different patterns and versions of the knife, again, it comes down to the quality of construction and the quality of steel. Okay, because not all steels are the same, or certainly all stainlesses are the same either. There's their badge number, so I engraved that on there, and then I also engraved their name on those wooden scales. That's what you call those handles. But with the different shapes of the kind of blades, they're all designed kind of for a different purpose, different lengths, and so on. Some of them, again, can be quite long. This one is a really long, skinny one, but its purpose, its job, is primarily for fishing, to replicate that long, flexible blade, much like you would have with a fishing knife if you've ever been around anybody that does a lot of fishing. And there's like a bottle opener and a kind of descaler. That's not a saw. That's just for cleaning the fish and taking the scales off the fish. So sometimes they're designed really long and slender for that reason. Other ones have a variety of very robust. This one I found actually in one of these metal dump bins one time. It's kind of like a mariner spike. And these spikes were quite often used to manage using around knots and ropes to kind of wedge in a knot and loosen up a knot, quite often with some element of a marine or nautical kind of based knife. And again, this one locks tight and it's got a almost like a bone scale handle. They continue to range. This one is one of those assisted ones again. And sometimes they have various metals built in. So for example, this metal would be a softer metal than the edge metal you can see above that rake, that pattern. And it just makes the metal a little stronger, and with better metals, it holds an edge that much better. One of my first knives when I got as I guess a back with a Boy Scout was this one. It was picked up at Canadian Tire. This is actually a replacement for that one. They don't no longer make them. And this one also locks. It has a nice little thumb lock here. So without that being depressed, it won't close. It has a long lanyard so you can attach it to your belt. Not when you're using it, of course, but just when you're carrying it so you don't lose it. But this is this style of knife. The knife very similar to this is, I remember I was whittling a stick, and I was putting all these little notches in the stick, and for whatever reason I hit a knot and I was pushing and I couldn't do anything. I couldn't get enough leverage, and I grabbed the end of this stick to much like this. I grabbed the end of this stick and I was carving to put some pressure on it, and the stick broke, and then I just kind of came all the way up my finger, and I just happened to get my hand open up quickly, and I don't know if you can see that line. The blade just caught the end of my into my finger, and that's probably the only major wound or scar I think I've ever really had on my body. I haven't done too much damage to my body other than that, and that was user error. That was a big time mistake on my behalf. And what else do we have? A couple more here. This one's made by Gerber, a similar company that I was showing you yesterday. More of a kind of a hunting style with what's called a belly. This is kind of the belly of the knife, and all the profiles and shapes are all for different purposes, including the materials of the handle and how it fits and feels in the user's hands. And obviously I showed you the Swiss Army knife from yesterday. That's a pretty new and exciting one. I did a review on that one. And then I actually tried my hand at making a model one out of wood. And this was actually a template. I bought the kit. It was actually it was in some store, and then I replicated it on my laser. And the idea is there's the lock here, and you push it and it locks up. So it's actually a replica of a regular knife. However, it's all made out of wood, including the pins and the locking mechanism. And I thought that was a little neat thing. It'd be nice to give away and maybe, put them into production someday, sell them to a gift shop as a little craft for kind of young people to put together and so on. All right, so now that my desk is buried in knives, I need to unbury my desk. Any questions about anything? Obviously, if knives aren't your thing, you may have tuned out, but I just want to bring some awareness to that aspect of things, especially in conjunction with that show that airs fairly soon. I have many. I don't know, Piervinth. I don't have a number, which is pretty sad in the sense that I'm not really aware of what I do own. I would hazard a guess how many were here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I would hazard a guess at like pocket knives, folding knives, maybe 30, 40. Um, Knives in general. Tomorrow is going to be more or less the straight blade knives and like a non-closing where it's just permanently straight. So that'll be our discussion tomorrow. But yeah, quite a few, more than the average person, unfortunately. All right. Happy to answer any questions later, but let's move on in our day. That's our quick little minds on.